Hi, my name is Madison Daniel, and I will be teaching you guys about nitrogen and everything it does in the soil. So, nitrogen is the element required in the largest amounts by plants. About 1 to 5% of the total plant dry matter consists of nitrogen, which is an integral constituent of proteins, nucleic acids, chlorophyll, coenzymes, photohormones, and secondary metabolites. The availability of N-roots is therefore a decisive factor for plant growth. N2 is only available to plants that are capable of forming symbiosis with N2 fixing bacteria, and the major source of N take up by roots of higher plants is usually nitrate, NO3, and ammonium, NH4+. Ammonia and amino acids are also the dominating plant available N forms in acid and forest soils. So that's a little background of nitrogen as a whole. And so today we will specifically be talking about the nitrogen cycle, the effects of nitrogen on plant growth, functions of N as a compound, and the assimilation of N by plants. So stay tuned. So first we're going to go over the nitrogen cycle, and so I have this picture up to just give a broad overview of it. So there's four main steps in the nitrogen cycle, and one of them is nitrogen fixation, ammonification slash decay, nitrification, and denitrification. It is important to note that microorganisms play a very important role in each of these steps, and so we're going to go into each of these steps in depth to explain the nitrogen cycle. So we have come to the first step of the nitrogen cycle, and this is nitrogen fixation. So this is characterized by the conversion of atmospheric N2 into ammonium NH3. Bacteria like Rhizobium have a major role in this process. They are harbored in plants like legumes, and they help convert nitrogen to ammonia. Nitrogen fixation can occur in any of the following ways: atmospheric fixation, which is involving light; industrial fixation, which is manufacturing ammonia under high temperatures and pressures. And those are just like a couple of ways that nitrogen fixation happens. Now you might be wondering, how does nitrogen come from air into the soil and is readily available to plants? Well, there's a group of bacteria called nitrogen-fixing bacteria that take on this challenge. These bacteria take nitrogen from the air and make it reactant with other compounds and make it solid in the process. This process of taking away the gaseous form of nitrogen and turning it to solid is like the whole basis of nitrogen fixation. Now we have come to our second step, which is assimilation of nitrogen by plants. In simplest terms, once nitrogen has been fixed in the soil, plants can absorb nitrogen through roots. This process of absorption is known as assimilation. Plants can absorb nitrogen through the soil in the forms of nitrate, which is NO3 minus, and ammonium, which is NH4 plus, and aerobic soils where nitrification can occur. Nitrate is usually predominant form of the available nitrogen that is absorbed. Another way that plants can absorb nitrogen is through symbiotic N2 fixation with microbials in the soil. So here we have the third step, which is also really closely related to nitrification. So in this step, which is ammonification, it is characterized by plants and animals returning nitrogen compounds to the environment as waste when they die and are decomposed or eaten by certain bacteria feeders, and the conversion of biological nitrogen compounds into ammonia is known as ammonification. Now, this ammonification occurs because of bacteria being able to convert ammonia to nitrate and nitrite. And that's when nitrification comes in and takes on the next step of the nitrogen cycle. Now we have come to the next step in the nitrogen cycle, which is nitrification. And so, nitrification is characterized by the biological oxidation of ammonia or ammonium to nitrite, followed by the oxidation of nitrite to nitrate. The transformation of ammonia to nitrite is usually the rate limiting step of nitrification. Nitrification is an important step in the nitrogen cycle in soil. Now, nitrification can happen in two different steps. The first step is in which NH3 slash NH4 plus is converted to NO3 minus, which is nitrates. The bacteria Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus present in soil convert NH3 to NO2 minus, and another bacterium, Nitrobacter, converts NO2 minus to NO3 minus. These bacteria gain energy through these conversions. Now we have come to the last step in the nitrogen cycling process, which is called denitrification. And denitrification is the loss or removal of nitrogen or nitrogen compounds specifically, reduction of nitrates or nitrites, commonly by bacteria that exist in the soils. And then what this does is it results in the escape of nitrogen into the air. Now, the cause of denitrification is microbes. They consume nitrate to produce energy, but in the process, denitrification occurs and nitrogen is reduced and lost into the air. And then it cycles all the way back around. Now, a lot of times this depletes the soil, and this is how we get infertility of nitrogen in the soil because of denitrification. We're done with the nitrogen cycle. So now we'll go on to the other parts of this lesson, which is going to be kind of explaining what nitrogen does in the plant body and like what it facilitates. So we'll get right into that. And so nitrogen in ways can be termed the backbone of plants, going by what it does in the plant. Of all the essential nutrients, nitrogen is required in the largest amounts since it plays important functions and it can be a limiting factor in plant production and proper crop development. So, nitrogen is a component of nucleic acid that forms DNA, a genetic material significant in the transfer of certain crop traits and characteristics that aid in plant survival. It also holds the genetic codes in the plant nucleus. So nitrogen also aids in the production of chlorophyll, which we all know that chlorophyll is the green organelle in plants that helps photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is how the plant grows. Therefore, nitrogen is extremely important because it aids in helping the plant grow. So that's like a little overview of what nitrogen does in the plant body. So now I'll just give a brief summary of the deficiencies of nitrogen, and that will wrap up this lecture of nitrogen and how it functions in the plants, how it gets there from the soil and up. So let's just hop right into how to tell the deficiencies of nitrogen in a plant. So you can tell nitrogen deficiencies because the older leaves exhibit signs of chlorosis. They get a pale yellow color throughout the whole leaf body. And so you can tell that this is nitrogen deficiencies through that, or flowering, fruiting, and protein and starch contents are reduced, and reduction in proteins results in stunted growth in dormant lateral buds. So without nitrogen, the plant can't grow as well, which we kind of already touched on that by saying it's a vital process in photosynthesis, which is how plants grow. So those are just like some telltale signs that your plant has nitrogen deficiencies. And so thanks for coming to my lecture about nitrogen. I hope you enjoyed the nitrogen cycle and that this was all educational and maybe some new information for you all. So thank you.